Hey y'all, welcome to Digital Learning Day 17. Today we're going to talk about how authors have different ways to bring stories to life. My grandfather, he used to be a great storyteller. We would sit and he would tell us all stories for hours. In a way, he was like the authors of your books, except he didn't write his stories down on paper. He wrote the stories with his voice. His stories were amazing and beautiful to listen to because of the way that he told them. His voice would go up and down. It would get loud or get soft. He would speed up or he would slow it down. He used his voice to make his stories come to life, to make them sound the way that authors would want them to sound. Authors have ways to help every reader bring stories to life, just the way a storyteller would. Today, I want to teach you the author's craft, not just what the words they use, but also the way those words are placed on the page. Authors include signals to print in the print, like bold or italic, or large letters, or smaller, tiny things like a comma or periods, to tell the readers how they want a story to sound. So I have this story on my screen, and it's out of our the Stories That Julian Tells text. So we're going to try to read it fluently with no punctuation, no bold letters, no capital letters, nothing. So we're going to read it with no signals from the author. So let's see if we can do it. I want you to listen. It's going to sound kind of silly, but I want you to try to listen and read it along with me. I'm going to start over here. We're going to read this text. Where is the pudding? My mother said. Where are you boys? My father said. His voice went through every crack and corner of the house. We felt like two leaves in a storm. Where are you? I said. My father's voice was booming. Huey whispered to me. I'm scared, Huey. He called Julian. Wow, that was really hard to understand. I couldn't tell who was saying what, or who was saying, I'm scared, Huey, or is it, I'm scared, Huey called? It's hard to know without the punctuation. Okay, so we're going to try it again, and I'm going to make a point to show you that the punctuation means a whole lot. It's really important. Okay, so let's try it again. Listen to how differently it sounds when I read it with the punctuation. Where's the pudding? My mother said. Where are you boys? My father said. His voice went through every crack and corner of the house. We felt like two leaves in a storm. Where are you? I said. My father's voice was booming. Huey whispered to me, I'm scared. We heard my father walking slowly through the rooms. Huey, he called, Julian. So now you can see that we've read it completely differently that time. This signals here the words in the capital letters. So let's see, capital letters. If you noticed, I raised my voice because those capital letters told us that the author wanted us to be screaming. We could tell that the father's voice, when it says it went through every crack and corner of the house, that means it was really loud. Or when it said my father's voice was booming, so that means it's so loud and maybe he was mad or upset. But we can read all of this with the punctuation and the signals, and the author helps us to realize the feelings and the emphasis that is going on in the stories. Okay, so the author used the capital letters, for example, here and here. They used the capital letters to show that the dad was mad, or to show how he was feeling, or that he was using his really loud voice. Okay, the author tells us that his voice went through every crack and corner. In other words, the father's voice was so loud it filled the whole house. So how do we know the father's voice was angry and not just loud? Okay, we know that he told the boys earlier in the story, we read it yesterday and the day before, but we learned earlier in the story that the dad told the boys not to eat the pudding, but they ate it anyways. So that tells us that when mom or dad tells us maybe we shouldn't do something and we do it, then they probably get a little angry with us, right? So we can use our prior knowledge or the information that we learned from the text earlier to help us gauge or help us to understand how we should emphasize the text as we're reading it. Okay, now if you look at the words down here, it says, Huey whispered to me, I'm scared. So if you paid attention as I was reading it, I said it like this, Huey whispered to me, I'm scared. So I used the term whispered, right? Because that's what we read before. And we know that when we whisper something or when we're saying, I'm scared, we're probably not shouting it and we're probably not happy about it, right? So we had to change our tone. Okay, so let's remember that what we know about the story and try to follow the author signals one more time to read it in a way that brings the story to life and helps us to understand the characters. All right, so I'm going to read it one more time, starting up here. I want you guys to read it with me, okay? Where's the pudding? My mother said. Where are you boys? My father said. His voice went through every crack and corner of the house. We felt like two leaves in a storm. Where are you? I said. My father's voice was booming. Huey whispered to me, I'm scared. We heard my father walking slowly through the rooms. Huey, he called. Jillian! So did you notice how the tone changed as we were reading the story, as we paid attention to the capital letters? We paid attention to the words before what we were saying, so we paid attention to whispered. And then I changed my voice when I said, I'm scared, right? And then when we talked down here, when Dad was yelling at Huey and Julian, so we use the author's cues or the author's punctuation or signals to help us interpret what the author is wanting us to know or how the author is wanting us to feel. Okay, so if we take a look, we've been building on our anchor chart. We're going to go ahead and add this to the anchor chart. It says we use the author's punctuation and special print to bring the story to life. All right, so here's some examples. Crash, with question marks. I will not go. Do you notice how that's bolded right there? So that helps us, that gives us that emphasis. We're emphasizing it, okay? So if we take a look just to review, as we're reading our books, we become experts on the author's craft, okay? We notice how the author helps you make vivid pictures in our minds. We use the author's precise words to understand the story better. We think about the extraordinary language. We ask, what does it really mean? Okay, and then we can predict how the story will go using what you already know about other stories in the series. And then we use the author's punctuation and special print to bring the story to life. So we use all of these tips to help us become expert readers on the author's craft. Okay, we have one more that we're gonna add to our anchor chart. I think we'll do that tomorrow. So you guys stay tuned. Thanks.